Let's lock in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. These right here is my babies. M8, M850R, M4. I got them both wrapped gloss green. This one's preferably tuned. This one's not tuned yet, but this one has 580 horsepower. I believe this one has about 680. I'm gonna let you hear it. This the one right here though. When we get this tuned, we gonna go crazy, I'm telling you. I love driving cars, customizing cars, tuning, you know, whatever it is. Definitely after I get done, you know, being in the league, this probably gonna be what I end up doing, to be honest. But, you know, it's just something that my dad definitely put me on. Really appreciate that. When I was little, me and my pops, we used to work, you know, on cars all the time. We've always bonded over cars, you know. He likes more like old school, you know, just like laid back stuff. I like, you know, like fast and sporty. And but you know, we always like every time he'll like come up here, we'll like do some work. Like we did some work on this one. We put the spoiler on there, and these side skirts in the front. You know, it's always just been something to me that I just always enjoyed. Ching. Locked in. Love this, man. This is the type of stuff that people need in their life.
If you had to give one word to describe Will McDonald's story, what would it be?
One word. Superior.
I say, man, he gonna be something.
He could have took that and went a different route with it. Just gave up everything, but he did not.
If he would have chose basketball, I think the outcome would have been the same instead of NFL like NBA. He was like just that good.
My initial impressions were that there was a young man that had been through a lot in life.
His story is so special, and it was all his determination to make his life better.
You know, overcoming the odds that he overcame to earn a Division I football scholarship and then ending up in the NFL. It's a story that's hard to describe and it's seemingly hard to believe.
He's experienced things that all of us have never experienced before, and he could have gone a million different ways in his life and his childhood, and he chose to lean on the people that cared about him.
Active career leader in sacks.
Can you just give me a couple of words to describe what he did athletically that year?
It was pretty stupid.
The way I describe Will McDonald's story, pause.
You're gonna get to moments where you need a sack, and he's going to do it. I promise you, he was born to be this. Maybe he had a high top fade, but to me, it was like a halo.
What a story to tell. Growing up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it was a cool little environment. I think I was with both my parents at the time, not at the same time, but at first I was with my moms, and then I was with my pops. They made sure that we had, you know, everything that we can, you know, be able to continue to keep pushing.
Will was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he was a firecracker.
You know, if he sees something, He'll take it apart, see how it works. It was a tinkler. What they call that, a tinkler? And, you know, he'll always want to see how something work, or if he was doing something, he'll like take it over.
He's the baby of the family. And he was always just a good kid. Like, he was a super, super good kid. Like, not too loud. He loved playing with cars, which is obviously what he still do now. So it's kind of crazy to see. Like, he used to play with cars a lot, him and Eric both.
Him and his brother Eric would do a lot of wrestling.
Him and Eric, they was like twins.
Me and Will, we were kind of like inseparable. So anywhere I went, he went, and like vice versa.
We had ripsticks and stuff. You know, skateboards. What's that one? Like the one wheel bike, the unicycle. I had one of those.
It's buy them stuff that nobody else had, like the unicycles. I'm like, I'm gonna see if what they can do with this. So, got the unicycle.
When they rode the unicycles, I think it's fair to say that's when I knew. Him and his brother Eric, believe their dad bought them some unicycles. And I was just looking like, okay, when are they gonna learn this? And to my surprise, they learned very well.
It's been a good run with him, I know that. It's always been something that he done and you can't believe it. So it's something we just all used to it, Will.
Seems like basketball was your first love, right? Can you kind of talk about when you were playing basketball?
I mean, I've been hooping since, man, like, I want to say like 3rd, 4th grade. Like, that's when I like really started. And like from there, I thought I was about to, go to the league, beating there's a Westbrook.
It's the Battle of Waukesha, North versus South, and the fans were amped to say the least. There's even more than bragging rights on the line as both squads enter at 2-1 in the Tough Classic 8, looking to make a move. Then it's sophomore Will McDonald with some hard work inside. It pays off and won 12-8 North. Then it's McDonald showing quickness on the baseline for 2 of his 11 on the night.
There you go.
I remember he was practicing that windmill. It took him a while to get that, but once he got it, that was like his favorite dunk. Yeah, there it is, EOS Fitness. Yeah, seeing him jump over cars, that's not something you see every day. I don't think many people are willingly jumping over cars to like test their athleticism. He's crazy for that. So, yeah, Will is I don't even know how to describe it. Will is one of one. To me, he's one of one. So yeah.
Could you ever have imagined as a kid, like Will would be here today, a first round pick in the NFL? I mean, sometimes you can see it right away, but like, was there a moment where you said like, hey, like this really could happen for him?
I think as kids, at the time, no, like I didn't know where our future would be.
I would say it's not too much out of the norm outside of maybe like, I'm pretty sure everybody been behind on bills before, but that was like our parents' problem, but it also affects us as well. Cause we've been in the dark. Like, I'm pretty sure as a kid, we had notices and stuff like that. Like it pretty much was the same as everybody else, but with kids all the way up until now, like we always stick together. We take care of each other no matter what. Even the times where we was like in the dark, or sometimes we didn't have as much food as everybody else. We came up with something to make sure that we was all okay. It wasn't too much of a struggle even during the struggle. I will say that.
His sophomore, junior year, I was the head girls track coach. I also teach in the building. And we would always do study tables for kids if they had low grades. Will was one of them. And he just like asked a lot of questions. He was really wanting to understand like what we were doing. So it kind of just developed over time.
I was a bad kid in school, by the way. So, I mean, I wasn't like bad, but like I wasn't like following the rules. Like I wasn't, like finding, nothing like that. But, we just had to, have like a little bit of like discipline.
So when he started here, he had a 1.8 GPA, which he's not going to go on to any Division I school.
Just treating me like, I was like their own son. So I was real grateful for that. I would literally just go to her office. I grab all my work from like the other teachers, and I was just go in there and she just teach me everything. She definitely taught me like a whole bunch of life lessons and all of that. I want to say, she definitely helped me out a lot, with schooling.
We knew what grades he needed in his classes, and he never skirted away from doing the hard work on his own. As a teacher, you hope that you get to work with somebody like that, but then being able to work with somebody like that, it's like a dream.
I had heard from a teacher in the building that there was this new kid in, he's really tall, and our school had struggled in football. And I had just been hired as the head football coach here a year or two prior. I was scratching and clawing to find any kid in the entire school that could potentially play football. Well, I happened to be standing in the hallway at the beginning of the school day, and down the long hallway, I saw a boy who looked to be about 7 feet tall because he had this huge high top fade. And as fast as I could run, I sprinted down the hallway to catch him before, the school bell rang. And I ran up to him and I said, "Hey, my name's Coach Harris. Do you play football? You need to come and play football with me." Like, I could just tell, like, there was just something, there was an aura about him that something is why I wanted to talk to him. And he just looked at me and said, "No, you're crazy. I'm a basketball player."
Harris was literally waiting for me. Like every time I got done with practice, like, "Yo, come out to the field." And I always tell him, I wasn't really, like, I'm not a football player.
Something told me to not give up, and I never gave up. I just kept going back to him, and I would come to school early before I knew he would get to school, so I'd have a chance to talk to him. 5 to 10 times later, he finally agreed. He finally agreed to come out and at least just hang out at football practice, and that was the beginning.
Coach Harris brings him out to the football field one day, and we're sitting there, and, Will's a 6'5" kid, and, like, I coached receivers at the time, and Coach Harris goes, "Oh, I got this new kid for you." And I look, and I'm like, "Oh, perfect. I can work with that." And we're standing there, and I'm teaching him how to stand as a wide receiver, and all of a sudden he's like, I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "I smell chicken patties." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "I smell chicken patties. They're coming from over there." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I go up to Coach Harris, and I'm like, "Who is this guy?"
That first time he was out on the field, it was like he had no clue what was going on. He didn't, really seem to know what like a practice looked like, or, like what he was witnessing.
Like, I thought maybe he'd be a wide receiver. Finally, we got him in pads and we got him out onto the field. And on the first play, we put him at defensive end.
And then we said, "Hey, now we want you to try to rush the passer." And I don't really think he knew what that meant, but we just told him, "Hey, we're going to put a quarterback here. We want you to try to get around this guy." And what was our best tackle, who went and played college football somewhere, and said, "Hey, can you get around this guy?" And
I did some type of rip move. I did like a jab in and out, bink, bink, and did a rip move, and I ended up beating him.
And he was in the backfield before the ball even got to the quarterback.
His first step that you could see then, it correlates to what you see now.
The main thing he taught me was, like, not everyone watches football every Friday, Saturday, Sunday like most of us do. And, he's like, "Where are those yellow lines at on the field?" I'm like, "Well, that's on TV," like stuff like that. But we found different ways of teaching him, and we figured out the way he learned. He's a very visual learner, and You got to show him how to do things and stuff like that. And if you told him what to do, he would do it better than anyone.
His mom did not want him to play. Chandra did not want him to play. And she pulled up one day and I just begged her. I just said, I need you to trust me. I need you to trust me. Like, I see something and believe that this kid could be really, really special.
And he was like, Mom, should I sign up for football? I was like, yeah, but you can get hurt. And he was like, my coach keep asking me. And I'm like, okay, do it. Just be careful. And then the next thing I know, Will was the sack leader.
Yeah, watching Will on defense, it was like, it's like he was a magnet, like going to them. Like wherever the ball was, Will was. I'm like, it's crazy.
When I took over as the head coach, I was a 7th head coach in 10 years. I think they had won 3 games in the last 5 years or whatever it was. It was really bad. Well, when Will came, we started, it's like, okay, we started to put some things together. Well, there's a school in town. It's the school's Heartland Arrowhead. It's the school I'm the head coach of now. It had just been to 4 state championships in a row. And we were scheduled to play them in the first conference game. And Will was our wide receiver and our defensive end in that game.
Transitioning like from basketball to football, like you still have that athleticism. And I think that's kind of where I think that's why Will is so good now.
From where we're around, you don't see a lot of kids that are 6'4", with the athletic ability that he was showing, the speed, quickness, the ability to jump. It's just not something that we were used to seeing. So we knew at that point that we were looking at something that was different.
And I remember that week watching that team and thinking about the guys that we had on our team. And also I knew we had Will McDonald. And I said, man, I think we can beat them. I think we can beat them.
He was just a superstar. Like, he gonna go somewhere. He was the focus of the field.
We got to the game and everything went our way. And every time we needed something to happen, in that game, Will had 3 sacks. He had a huge catch. He had basically the game-winning touchdown. In the last seconds, we got them to jump off sides and we won the game. And it's the first time Waukesha North had ever beaten Heartland Arrowhead in the last 25 years, since 1999. And it kind of was like the turning point of not just our football, but like the entire school. Like it was like, we finally have figured out how to win and how to beat teams. And there was a lot of great players on that team, but Will McDonald was the guy. That game always sticks out to me.
One night I called him. It was a Thursday night, and I was just like, asking him if he wants to go get BW3's wings because he loves the wings. And I call him, and he kind of slipped up, and he's like, "No, I'm just about to go to sleep in my car." And he started to say it, and I'm like, "What were you gonna say?" And he's like, "Oh, nothing." I was like, "Will, what were you gonna say?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just sleeping, in a parking lot across town, so no one finds me. I've been doing it for a week."
In between that time, it was me, my brother, my mom's, is when my mom's got kicked out. And then, after that, my mom, she ended up getting a place back in Milwaukee. And my brother moved back there with her. But I wanted to stay in Waukesha because they had better education there than they did it in Milwaukee.
I believe his family moved back down to Milwaukee, and we had just assumed that he had moved down with them and was just commuting out to Waukesha every day.
I was sleeping in the car for a couple of months. I worked at McDonald's. I worked at McDonald's, and there was a Wendy's across the street that I also worked at, right by my mom's. So I was like, it was cold. I was sleeping in my car around the winter too. It was kind of cold, during other times, but it ain't hard, it's just it's just, something that I was just like, I had to do. But, like, for me, it was just like, the only thing I had on my mind was just trying to get like my education.
When he had mentioned to me that he was not staying at home, that he was going to be in his car, like knowing like the atmosphere of any community, like if somebody would knock on his door, on his window, if he's sleeping in his car, like that might not end well. So I contacted Coach Harris and just said, like, we have to do something.
I had heard about that from Coach Peterson, and Coach Peterson knew a cop in the city, and the cop had seen him sleeping in the park in his car, and they knew who he was. But when I finally got a hold of Will, I said, like, that's the last time that this happens. Like,
we learned that it was kind of just like a all hands on deck. Let's figure out where you're gonna stay.
And I'm like, I don't ever want to hear that again. Like, come stay with me when you need. Coach Harris will bring you in. Coach D'Amico will bring you in. If you need a place to sleep, let's figure this out.
My parents like knew nothing about this. Like, they didn't know I was like in a car.
Like struggles, yes, but great too. Like, like they were a typical, inner city Milwaukee family, and Mom was the most loving person I had ever met. She was at everything she needed to be at. Dad was a great dad. Like, I think he was around. Will loved his dad a ton and talked about him all the time to me. But there was definitely issues. There was definitely things that they had to overcome.
He told me that he stayed with his coaches, and being the male figures for him, because he needed that would be a big part of, getting him to where he is now, because he could have took that and went a different route with it.
I would say his number one trait is his survival skills and just finding a way to survive, whatever it might be. I mean, his first friends here at Waukesha North were the lunch ladies, and like they'd have leftover food and he'd get it and stuff like that. He always just found a way to survive.
I first heard about Will McDonald. Our recruiting department did a great job of finding a video of this junior, was a first-year football player, basketball player turned football player, big time under the radar.
I remember him getting a phone call from Iowa State with their offer, and it was really the first Power 5 school that had reached out and had shown an interest and had offered.
I think the first time I met Will was at a junior day here at Iowa State. He came up with his high school football coach. When he left that day, I remember telling our coaching staff just how special this guy is, what he stood for, what he was about, and just was so impressed with the character of this young man, and after all the adversity he'd already overcome in his life.
When they gave me the offer, I just like accepted it right away, because I'm like, oh, I bet I'm gonna get my school paid for. I talked to Coach Campbell. We was vibing. He came up to the school, came to the crib, and we just kind of like grew close together. That's when I knew, this coach that I want to play for.
Just gonna have you take a look at that article if you want to read the headline and kind of reflect back on it.
The year of Will McDonald concluded in fitting fashion Saturday at WIA State Track Meet, with the Waukesha North senior standing atop the podium. McDonald wrote the latest chapter in the saga of his wide-ranging athletic achievements by winning the Division I state title in discus. You just talk to coaches and athletic directors throughout the year, and sometimes you feel like they might be selling you a bag of false goods with a guy. Oh yeah, come look at this guy, do a story on this guy. But sometimes you show up to the field and they're like, look at this guy. And they don't even need to sell you anything. And there were two players in my history that I remember that happened, and that's all I needed to see. We didn't need to talk about it anymore. It was one, it was Will McDonald, and two, it was J.C. Latham, who's now an offensive tackle for the Titans when he was a freshman. You just look at him, you see him play a little bit, and you're like, wow, there are not many guys here that play like that.
He certainly goes down as what I would say is probably the the most decorated, the most talented, the best football player in that school's history. What he was able to do on the field, it was just havoc. I mean, he obviously was an all-state football player, you know, someone with that skill set that we hadn't coached in a long time, you know, earning accolades, you know, across the board.
I think like my senior year though, you know, it did slow down. I became a captain also, but just, you know, that was cool for me. You know, I kind of was just out there, just, you know, just playing ball.
You know, and then we get to Friday night, and it was just at any moment, like, he could change a game on both sides of the ball. And throughout his senior year, I mean, you just knew, like, that's when we were really sold that one day this guy's going to be in the NFL.
It was really his last couple of years that I remember where you started to notice, oh, this guy is a freak athlete. He's producing on the football field, and then suddenly he became a basketball star.
He goes into basketball season to become a player of the year in the conference and, you know, dominating on the basketball floor.
People didn't even have kids. They just come watch him play basketball. And when he get through, everybody be lined up while he walking down, going autographs and stuff. I'm like, what?
Watching him perform, it was like magic. Will was like a baby Shaq in the paint.
Coach Harris and Coach D'Amico and myself, we never missed a basketball game. We went to every single one. We went to, you know, an hour away, 45 minutes away, just pretty much to watch Will, because it was, you know, must see in person because it wasn't on TV.
North features lots of players from their football team, including Will McDonald, whose two-fisted flush pushes the lead to 15.
But I think like it started off, you know, with the basketball, you know, just using my athletic ability, you know, to do that. You know, then football, you know, I started to get familiar with that, dominating that. But I think like track and field was where I had like the most fun.
His track story is almost as incredible as his football story.
I was doing the hurdles. What else? I was doing the hurdles, the high jump. I did the discus. I did the long jump.
He did not like track. The only reason he did track is because I begged him to, and I knew we needed him to help us win, you know? And he was like, fine, coach, I'll do it. I'm sleeping in your basement anyways, you know? Like, I'll come. But then he fell in love with it.
I think I was seated like 20th in like the high jump. I wonder if I can just gain momentum and kind of just, you know, like stuttered up to the bar and just jumped across. And I made it. I got third place. I'd have been seated like 20th.
The next day he had to throw the discus, and I remember waking up in the morning and him looking at me. He's like, I'm going to win the state championship. I don't care what happens. I'm winning the state championship.
People who know him know the story about him, you know, throwing disc in Chuck Taylor's when he's competing against other guys who, you know, go to camps and have all the equipment and all this.
I always tried to give Will discus shoes, and he's like, Coach Harris, I'm done taking things from you. Like, I'm just gonna wear my shoes. I'm like, Will, you have Converse Chuck Taylors on. You can't throw the discus in Converse Chuck Taylors. You at least just wear these shoes. He's like, nope, I'm wearing these Chuck Taylors.
The second one he threw, I was like, oh yeah, I think that's the one. They called the numbers and they said it was in first place. And then like a couple minutes later, they ended up saying that he broke the record there. So I'm like, that's crazy.
And this skinny guy was throwing the disc further than them. And he won. I say, man, like I say, he take whatever he do, he just take it over. I said, I don't know. He's gonna be something.
And to go out and to win a state championship and to be able to witness that and just to see all the hard work finally culminate in something so great was incredible to be a part of.
To win discus and then take second in high jump, those two events don't go together. For him to do both of those on top of everything else he did in football, which obviously was his best sport, and basketball, which conference player of the year, that's pretty crazy.
Even in our conference, in our state, there's never really been someone that has absolutely dominated, you know, three sports.
He was the conference defensive player of the year in football. He was the conference basketball player of the year. He was an all-state track athlete. He's a state champion discus thrower. Will McDonald was the guy. And I believe that Will McDonald changed the course of the high school, of the school. He changed the course of a lot of us. His last week of school is a story that like should go down in books. He needed to get a B in a class in order to be eligible, just eligible to play at Iowa State. And this was the day before the state championship in track. So he goes to the class, he gets an A on the test, finishes the test, goes and gets in the van to go do the state championship, and goes and does what he does at the state championship.
By his senior year, he had a 3.5 GPA his second semester, and it was all him. Everyone, I gave him the skills, I gave him the strategies, but he had to flourish on his own.
I was the first in my family to go to college and graduate from college. So, getting there, as soon as I got done, with the graduation at school, I left that same day in my red Pontiac, all my trash bags in the back, and I drove up there. I don't know how I made it.
He came to see me right before he left, and, we had our embrace, and he got in the car and he drove away. And, that was a hard moment. It was like seeing your boy leave, and all of a sudden my phone rang about an hour later, and he calls me. He's like, "Coach Harris, my bumper fell off my car." I'm like, "Okay, well, I guess I'll get my car and I'll come help you out, And so I get my car and I'm about 5 minutes down the road, and he calls me and he FaceTimes me and he's like, "Look, I fixed it." And he had gone into the gas station and bought all the duct tape that they had and had his bumper duct taped to the car. And he drove the rest of the way to Iowa State. And, I text Coach Campbell and I'm like, "I just want you to know that you got a really special kid coming, and his bumper might be dragging on the way. But once he gets there, please just take care of him, because he means the world to me. He means the world to everybody here, because he just has that infectious personality that you just want to be around." And, it's just a crazy, crazy story. But it's just stories like that over and over about his resilience,
First got there, the only thing I had in my room was like a TV and a dresser, kind of just doing my thing. School, trying to learn the playbook, definitely trying to learn more about football. That's definitely what I was trying to do, was learn more about football. So when I first got there, I knew some stuff, but not a lot.
Here at Iowa State, we tried to do a great job with development. I think at that point, Will needed a developmental program that can be really patient with him. I can remember as a freshman coming in and maybe his first day at Pats, having his pads on backwards and not really knowing a 5 technique from a 3 technique. But Iowa State was the right fit for Will McDonald because we could support him. He could grow. He can develop into what he needed. He needed time. That's all he needed, was time to learn. But it didn't take us long to know that, man, his skill set was rushing and passer for sure.
My first real game, it was TCU. I went out there for one play, and we was running the stump. I was really only going out there on 3rd downs and stuff.
We had a really good concept for him to actually be at the point of attack.
I line up and we run a blitz. I come scot-free right in the QB face. He tried to move and I punch out the ball.
3rd down and long, Robinson, flush, lost the football. The scramble for it. Iowa State recovers. Jaquan Bailey. Will McDonald, backup defensive lineman, and they've got plenty up in Ames. Punch the football out of there. Big number 99 in white.
His first collegiate play was a strip sack recovery and a critical point in the game. That's when I knew this guy's different.
I think we made a decision after that game, to redshirt Will, but I think you knew really fast that, man, this guy's got all the tools and talent to be really special for our football program.
I want to say about like my second, third sack, that's when I started to think I really can probably go to the league and do this. All I got to do is run around somebody. That's easy.
Wrapped up and he's swallowed up. Will McDonald and sacked. Will McDonald having a field day.
His first couple steps are really explosive. He can bend, he can turn the corners, and he didn't need a whole lot of pass rush moves to get to the quarterback.
And is brought down. A massive loss. Will McDonald, who else would it be for the Cyclones?
By the time he, I think, realized that not only can he do this, but do it maybe better than anybody that's ever done it at Iowa State, I think there became a sense of confidence and really an alignment to himself of, I can be great and I'm going to dominate the game. And what you saw in 21 was a guy from the very first game to the end of the season truly dominate the game.
What are you going to remember about Will McDonald?
Yeah, that's probably a great question. I think to me, the transformational growth in Will as a human being is far greater than anything that he's done for us on the football field. I mean, obviously, he's been a great football player, but a way greater human being.
I actually was going to leave my fourth year, before the COVID stuff happened. I sat down and talked with Coach Campbell. I didn't really care. I never cared about the money and this and that. I just wanted to be in a good place.
I still recall him talking about getting his degree, talking about the first male in his family to get a college degree. I think there was a lot of debate on where Will would maybe fall in the draft at that time. And I still go back to really leaving the decision to Will.
There were still some questions about, man, is he really the top pass rusher in the country? Is he really the top pass rusher in the Big 12? So my whole conversation with Will is that, man, here's the plan. You go out and have a great year. Go to the Senior Bowl, and you beat the best of the offensive linemen and leave no doubt. Leave no doubt. And he did that.
We've got football coming your way. Texas Tech hoping for bowl eligibility, taking on an Iowa State Cyclone, playing for posterity. It's going to be fun. Coming your way from Ames.
McDonald is already Iowa State's all-time sack leader, but he has his sights set on getting that Big 12 record, as well as in which he'd have to beat out Von Miller. I don't know, you might have heard of him.
I am trying to beat the sack record. I'm hoping for that to be one of my goals this season. I was already planning on beating his record that year.
He so passionately chased those goals and dreams, and really is a shining example of what you can do when you're willing to work really hard.
Will is the type of person that if he wants something, he'll go and get it.
Being able to perform in front of all those people, man, it was a real cool experience, man.
1:30 to play. Texas Tech not in a hurry at all. Sharp lost it, stripped away. Will McDonald coming off the edge. That'll be another sack for one of the greatest sack masters in Big 12 history.
That is the 34th career sack for Will McDonald.
He was tied with Von Miller with 33 until that sack. Now for the Big 12 career lead.
What you saw our program do, during Will's time here is go to heights and go to places we've never been to. And, Will was such a critical piece of that. And to not only do that as a football player, but then equally have the ability to transform himself, not just as a football player, but as a man, and be able to have the impact that he had every single day that he was here at Iowa State. The legacy far outweighs sacks. It goes to his work ethic and his ability to really develop trust and develop himself into the best man, the best human, and one of the best leaders we've ever had.
Oh, we are now less than an hour away from the start of the NFL Draft. Our Local 5 sports team is in Kansas City with everything you need to know ahead of the first-round picks. Right now, Jake Brent is live at Union Station to tell us more about a cyclone poised to break a 50-year drought for Iowa State. Jake?
It's a pretty crazy atmosphere. You can tell the people of Kansas City have been waiting a long time for this. And every time the NFL Draft comes around each year, Iowa State fans hear one thing. It's been so many years since Iowa State's had a first-round draft pick, and this year, the drought has reached 50, but Will McDonald has as good of a chance as any player that's worn the Cardinal and gold to break that streak in a long time.
I was talking to my coaches from, back home, and I remember Peterson saying, he's going to be a first-round draft pick. Just give him a couple years, he's going to be straight. I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
We went to Coach Campbell's house. He invited us over for the draft party. And, we're driving down there and we're trying to figure out, like, when's he going to go? When's he going to go? We're there and the draft starts. And, us being big football fans, we want to watch the draft. Well, Will wanted to play Connect 4 against me because his teammates were telling me Will's the best Connect 4 player of all time, yada, yada. Well, I played him, haven't played Connect 4 in 10 years, and I beat him the first 2 games, and he was madder than I've ever seen him in my entire life. And, we're on pick 5 now of the NFL Draft that night, and he's like, no, that's BS. I'm beating you.
What a surreal moment, kind of cool because Coach Campbell's first year, Will McDonald was basically Coach Campbell's first signee.
I would say it was one of the most powerful nights that I've ever watched as a coach. And, it was great that, he didn't want to be at the draft night. We ended up being at my house with Coach Rashid, his high school coach, some family friends.
The only way to really describe it is that it was surreal.
I remember we were all at the coach's house. We're watching it.
That was a blessing because I knew it was something that I had asked for. I knew it was something that he had worked very hard for. And something that we all supported, and ultimately, what you believe and what you say will happen.
I thought I was dreaming then. I really couldn't even talk.
When we first got there, the coach pulled me to the side, and he was like, I just want to tell you something. I just really want you to know, if he didn't want anybody else here, he wanted you here with those kids. My kids are a big part of who he is.
Well, his nieces and nephews were his wife. I think they're 7 now. And he knew how hard it was for him growing up in the situation back in Milwaukee. And he wanted to really kind of put those guys on at least second base, his nieces and nephews, and supported them. He always talked about he didn't want his nieces and nephews to go to things, to go through the stuff that he went through back in Milwaukee. And that was just why. It was really powerful.
I was so thankful to Coach Campbell, Coach Rashid, and Coach Hoosier for what they did for Will McDonald.
It didn't feel real at the moment for me. I'm like, no way.
I was real proud of.
We were sitting there and he checked his phone and I could see it said New York on it. I kind of glance at the screen and I see it's the Kelly Green Jets, and he picks it up and lo and behold, it was the call.
Hell yeah, man. We right. We getting ready. We getting straight. Appreciate you, Coach.
Oh my God. Get him, Coach. Get Coach C.
I remember, just kind of the inner workings of where we all were and kind of what he was doing just for it all just to kind of stop and oh my, that's the phone. And I think that's one you should probably take.
What's up, Coach? How you doing? Yeah, I'm ready, man. I've been ready. I'm just enjoying my time, man. I appreciate the honor.
I think Will is certainly a shining example of a young man that came here in every aspect of his life, from how he took care of his body to how he grew from young man to man to how he grew as a football player. He transformed from 18-year-old Will McDonald to 22, 23-year-old Will McDonald, the man. And I think one of the most powerful parts of that night was one of his nephews said to my wife that night is, man, I want to go to Iowa State someday.
And I'm just so proud of him. Like, he's the baby of the family, and the baby of the family is the one that made it somewhere. Like, I'm so proud of him. I love him so bad. I don't want to be crying, but I love that boy so bad, and I'm just so proud of everything he overcame. No matter what it was, no matter how it made him feel. I'm just proud of him.
With the 15th pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Will McDonald.
Afterwards, Jets media is calling him and stuff, and he doesn't like that stuff at all. And he just got up and walked to the front of the house in the driveway, and he needed a moment to himself. And I go walking out there, and he says to me, he goes, "You know what? You're the only person I want to talk to right now." And it was very special for me at that moment. And so we just started, reminiscing on all the things he's been through.
In this journey, we all have a story, and every player has a story that they're coming from.
Like, I'm not trying to just leave a legacy. Like, I'm trying to be generational.
No matter what adversity strikes you, you can make it. Your dreams can come true.
Life is about overcoming adversity, and the only way you can do it is you got to do it with great people.
Their photographers nailed a picture. They nailed a picture, and it was with myself, Will, Coach Rashid, Coach D'Amico, and Coach Peterson. And the joy in our faces, I'll never, that will stick in my mind for the rest of my life. He did so much for me, and, I think that was the moment where he was like, "I'm good, man, I'm good." And I was just happy. I was happy, and I was happy to be there. And, it was a great moment.